right, welcome to Focus on Liberia. I'm Anthony C. hosting, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome, folks, to this Friday special edition of our program here at Focus on Liberia. Hit the share button. We have a special guest in this edition of Focus on Liberia, Mr. Charles B. Coffey, the president of the Press Union of Liberia. He is our guest, and he is joining us from all the way Monrovia, Liberia. We got Mr. Coffey on the phone. Momentarily, I will be bringing him in. Folks, we are going to be talking about the press and press freedom in Liberia. Welcome. Hit the share button. Let us get to know the work of the Press Union of Liberia and the entire media in Liberia. We want to know whether the media is happy about the way things have been going into the country. And we also want to get to know the work of the media, what have been their challenges in doing their job, informing and educating the Liberian people. I'm Anthony Sier. This is Focus on Liberia, and this is our Friday special. And of course, we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. At this time, let me welcome my guest, Mr. Charles B. Coffey, joining us from Monrovia, Liberia. Mr. Coffey, welcome to Focus on Liberia. I'm happy to have you, sir.
Thank you very much, and it is a pleasure of being on your platform.
All right, folks, you can hear our guest is excited being here to talk about the issues of the media and press freedom in Liberia. A little about our guest, Mr. Charles B. Coffey, was born onto the union of Charles B. Coffey and Mr. Mary M. Coffey in Harper City, Maryland County on May 25th, 1970. Educationally, he earned a Master of Arts degree in Educational Administration and Supervision from the University of Liberia in December of 2017. Well, before that, he earned another master in international relations from the Ibrahim Graduate School of International Studies of the University of Liberia. And then in April of 2009, Mr. Coffey earned a Bachelor of Arts degree, that is BA, from the University of Liberia. He has also obtained several certificates and diplomas in broadcast, journalism, and other media-related areas from local and international journalism institutions. So Mr. Coffey is our guest. That is a little bit about him. Again, Mr. Coffey, we just read your profile just for our audience to get to know you. But you are the president of the Press Union of Liberia. Let's start here. I know what I read is just your academic credentials, but in terms of family, who are you?
Yes, I'm happy to marry to Josephine Pamela. Now Josephine Pamela Coffey, and the union is blessed with 3 children.
Oh, all right, thank you so very much. Well, let's get to it. You are the president of the Press Union of Liberia. We want to know, how has it been so far in Liberia with the work that you have been doing?
Well, the work of the media in Liberia is a kind of very crucial, interchangeably depending on the environment at the time, especially political environment when we are in the election period. And so it's another stage. But generally, the operating environment of the media has improved, but we are still seeking more improvement in the process. We have proliferations of media institutions, both traditional and new media. We also have, with that, traditional media, community radio stations across the country. The print also in the dozens, online, and both social media. All of the media environment of our country has improved, significantly in terms of plurality and diversity. but there are challenges also. So, but my record as of this date, when it comes to journalists being interesting for the work we do, no, there's no one from now. If that a journalist has been attacked for the work they do in B, uh, 2 years ago, there were some issues with state security in the media. If you remember, we protested and presented a petition to the government to seek redress. Committee was constituted, still investigating that. Journalists covering programs or covering events at times, they clash with the police. But that has now reduced to a minimal level. So that could be some of the problems for the operation of the media, that both private, public, media institutes.
Thank you, Mr. Coffey, and we will get to some of the cases that you try to mention and see what effort you have made at your end and what have been the outcome. Folks, we are having an interview with Mr. Charles Coffey. He is on the phone with us here, focus on Liberia from all the way Liberia. Mr. Coffey, are you still with us? Mr. Coffey, are you still with us?
Yeah.
All right. Let me pay attention to me here. There's something I want to read, and then I have a question for you. The protection of free speech, freedom of the press, and protection for media workers are fundamental rights under the Constitution of Liberia, the United Nations Convention on People and Human Rights. Now, that is a statement there, and this statement is loaded, and I think this is where you come in as leader and also as an institution in helping to protect the media and also other media workers. So my first question is that is freedom of speech being enjoyed today in Liberia compared to many years ago or compared to previous administrations?
Well, what you write is true. Even is the foundation, of the formation of the president of Liberia to ensure the safety, protection of journalists, and guarantee free speech, basic human rights. So that is our role, and we've been striving to make sure that the gains we have made are irreversible. Yes, I can say it has improved because we also formulated policies to ensure that we have some backing in the event that journalists' rights are infringed upon and free speech is affected or somebody is punished for free speech. So what we did was to work with the legislature, the government as a whole, to decriminalize free speech. We repeal in their entirety sedition, criminal malevolence, criminal libel against the president, and that's why we repeal. So they have now become civil offenses instead of criminal offenses. So we have made progress in that direction. Those days, prior to the repeal of the laws, many years, sometimes people in the newsroom and state authority use security when they feel that the stories are critical or whatever print or the electronic journalists can normally used to be incarcerated. People arrest them without due process and they prosecute them on criminal offenses. So with the repeal of these these decriminalizing the free speech, it also helps us to ensure that free speech is protected in our country. So indeed, we have made significant progress as compared to the past. People, especially with the emerging of the new media, social media, and technology advancing, because the free speech issue is not just for journalists alone. Those journalists are the conduit through which people express themselves. Every Liberian, people use the media, use radio stations, television to vent out their concern, whether seeking redress. And in most cases, we haven't heard that someone was arrested for calling on radio or moving to the radio station, for the speech they made to be arrested on a criminal offenses. No. So there are other challenges that we still have to, once things are changing to cope with the present day reality that we're seeking to address. But generally, the atmosphere, as compared to 20 years back, 15 years back, they have improved. The improvement started from Minister Lee's administration when we acceded to the Declaration of Table Mountain that calls for African leaders to abolish insult laws. So that we acceded to, then we established the Information Commission, that we are seeking information from public officials or permanent person, information of interest. If they are denying you, you can use the commission to compel them to provide the information. So we learn it at that level, and then furthermore to review these draconian laws, making them civil offenses or criminal offenses that are earlier on named. So policy-wise, implementation-wise, we have made progress, but we need to do more. We are still pushing for some to be repealed.
Thank you so much. So I want to know, how has the PUL responded to action by state actors who have been muscling the press using all kinds of tactics?
Well, the PUL is always uh, ensuring the protection and guarantee free speech. Whenever we notice that action has been taken against a journalist or whoever for the speech aspect of journalists doing their work, we seek the right remedy. If it calls for judicial process, we have lawyers who are providing pro bono services to the union. Mm-hmm. We are collaborating with the Liberia Bar Association. We have USAID, that is the government, through USAID and Internews in Liberia and media development partners. They join us, they support us, and they show that whatever action is taken against the journalist, especially infringing on the person's right for doing the journalistic work, it requires court action. We go to court, and that we seek redress. If it means that we need not to go to court, but to act timely through statements, and we issue statements condemning the act and calling for those responsible to be prosecuted, and at times actions taken. So different methods are being employed in making sure that the environment is very conducive for the media to operate. Though, as I earlier indicated, it has some different stages. So most cases, like during the 2020 election, the December 8th election, there were some issues against some media practitioners. But those who attacked those journalists were non-security personnel. They were not state security. Other some of them were political agents, and who were expressing their concern and thought they didn't have to be exposed, especially during the voters' roll update. When people were talking, some journalists were kidnapped to cover that, doing live video, and they were attacked by supporters of some politicians who moved in. The situation was arrested, and they were arraigned by, before court. The police arrested them. Another journalist was brutalized in Bombay also for capturing, the trucking, which some name was against. So during this kind of, situations, political season and crisis, it's very risky for people to do their work, but we normally manage to make sure that, generally they are protected and their safety is guaranteed. So to make sure that we address some of these things, we don't wait for journalists to be affected. And when these kind of major national events are pending, we collaborate with state security, sometimes hold discussion with police authorities, because the police present always with the surveillance, and then we conduct workshops. During the elections, we also collaborated with European Union, the Independent Human Rights Commission in Liberia, and other partners. We conducted workshops across the country, bringing together journalists, how to report on conflict issues, to be conflict sensitive, to be professional. The police themselves were brought in at certain points to know the role of the media and the role of the police, just to minimize the kind of tension that was brewing. At a certain point of time, we have to hold discussion with political leaders through our Edward William Bladden forums or discourse, a process that brings together civil society, political actors, no political actors, and develop a topic, they express themselves, we ask questions, and then we move forward. So in some of these cases, we intervene using different methodologies to make sure that the general rules that the media is safe, it's secure, people are free to do their work, and security sector also becomes very responsible in dealing with media matters, even surveillance. So at different levels, we intervene, go to court, condemn, with discussion. And that's why we have the National Media Council because we don't just advocate for journalists, but we also institute punitive measures against any journalist who ethically transgress, the departments and professional aspects. So we have National Media Council. This National Media Council comprises 9 members for diverse background. We have the religious community that dominate, the Christian Muslim are represented, and then we have the women groups represented on that committee. We also have the media representation. Then from the academic mass communication area, people are there. And we have somebody from the legislature, not lawmaker, but those in central administration who have knowledge the media works because of the deals they grab and the rest. So the 9 members committee will put into complaints from the public, from politicians, from governments, complaining the journalists about ethical transgression. The framework which was developed in conformity with the code of ethics is being used for the committee to investigate. And after the investigation, sometimes the matter is not very much grave. It requires retraction with permanence. They recommend that the journalists will do that.
Thank you.
It means that we suspend the journalists. So different ways.
Thank you so very much. Folks in cyberspace, you are watching Focus on Liberia. This is our Friday edition. We have on the phone the Press Union President, Mr. Charles B. Coffey. We are having a discussion here. Our topic is the press and press freedom in Liberia. Mr. Coffey, stay on muscling of the press. Most of those who badmouth the press and try to muscle the press are sometimes former journalists who now find themselves in government. For example, Mr. Smith Toby, Mr. Eugene Nambwe, Ledger Wong Rainey, and you can go on and on. These people were in the media and now they're in government. They are the one even giving acquiescence to some media institution be shutting down. Are you sometimes baffled by this, and have you been able to get around this?
Well, the first thing is like we in recent times been working with the Ministry of Information, Culture Affairs, and Tourism, and the situation is that we have to have this kind of harmonious working relation because people who are, establishing media institutions, the first go are MICA and then LTA. They don't consult the union when they are seeking, the documentation for the establishment of the media institution. So they have policies in place there. They have placed a signature to some document. After that, then they are required to come to the union for institutional membership. So for every time MICA or LTA is instituting some measures relating to the policies they adopted, and these policies are against the media institutions and individuals to move in and remind them that they need not to close the media institutions down because they need not to punish anybody for their speech, especially free speech. We know free speech is not absolute. We know what it is not free speech, but in the context of the free speech, they need not to punish people. And then we hold discussions and sometimes fruitful results. But for the past time, some radio stations were closed down before I even took over on a Salif administration. And then this administration, Patrick Honor, Punch FM is now here open. We issued a statement, but we now continuing because it's subjudice. They later went to court. So, but I'm only mentioning that for every time there's a problem, we move in, contact the information ministry so that we can resolve some of these problems because they too have a role to play in giving out permits and LTA with frequency. The last time we had a discussion with LTA about this frequency harmonization process that we thought we were denying other media entities from being on air because of the fees that have been charged. We held discussion with LTA. We brought in the Broadcaster Association, and we reached a logical conclusion, reducing the fees depending on the radio station, national, local, and community. So as we speak, they are still going through the process for no radio stations, to my knowledge, has been closed for the fees payment. We acknowledge that people should pay taxes. People should not evade taxes under the doctrine of free speech. No, we are cognizant of the fact. So we are full ahead of the process. So indeed, as we earlier indicated, we expect people who want, in fact, once you are a journalist, but now they move on to public relations to know that the media must be protected. They should not be the one to affect or undermine the growth of the media. So we've been doing some discussions, but in the event that is that much, against our will, we can act depending on the situation.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Coffey. Thank you so very much. Let me bring in this question here. Well, Mr. Coffey, what we don't see is documentary. So let's talk about that. I don't remember seeing quite too often documentary reporting being done by the media in Liberia. Why we don't see that? All right, folks, bear with us yet. The connection has dropped for some reason. We have a question for our guests. The internet here, it is reconnecting. We have just lost him, and I just hope he can call back. Let me see if I can call him back quickly. Let me see if I can call him back here quickly. Let me see if I can call him back here quickly. Just lost our guest. All right, I can't get him. Let's hope he calls back. But the question I have here is, we don't see documentary from Liberia, from the media. Why? We see documentaries being done by other media institutions in other parts of the world. We don't see that. I would also like to know about investigative journalism, where the journalist or a media institution will try to follow a particular story until there is a closure to that particular story. For example, we have the 3 missing boys. It's been 4 months now. Whether or not police have initiated a serious investigation is yet to be seen. The suspect, the government is doing business with that suspect. Whether those boys actually died, whether they are alive anywhere, not much is being heard about concerning these boys. So I want to know, in instances like this, or in an instant like this, what is the role of the media in Liberia? Are there journalists in Liberia who can go to the length of investigating this particular story, trying to get to family members, trying to get to the security apparatus, trying to talk to leaders within the community until this matter is resolved? Mr. Coffey, again, thank you for joining us. I know connectivity.
It's a network.
I understand. And the question I have for you, when I'm doing a little commentary here, while I was anticipating your call, is we don't see documentaries in Liberia. And the question is why? Why we don't see, our media doing documentaries about major events or things in Liberia? I'm not saying it has not been done, but not many people can say, yeah, I've listened to the documentary, done by this journalist. Why? What's the challenge there?
And you are right. If we reflect on the past, early 80s, late 80s, I don't want to go to 70s, people were doing documentaries. People were doing pre-recording, well-prepared programs. So, but in recent times, though few persons are doing documentaries, but as required, everyone is now, especially for radio,
Oh my goodness. Connection is just poor. Connection is
live programs. Yeah, yeah. So no, I'm getting. So, hello.
Yeah, go ahead. You are live now.
Yeah, yeah. So everyone, most of the young journalists are just doing a live program, go live on radio, and like talking the phone or talk show, just introduce topic, open the lines. No, but when you watch all the Western media televisions and listen to some of the show, even around us, our colleagues in Africa, you see documentaries. So indeed, you are right. So what the union is doing, we have these annual awards programs. We are introducing documentary because we normally award people in different categories. We have 42 categories. We just few journalists of the year, lifetime achievers. Then we have environmental reporting, legislative, different categories, environmental, health, women's issues, and so forth. So we introduce the new awards like fishery, agriculture, extractive industry, just to encourage media to venture in documentaries, to have detailed, issues on events, materials that will take them, they take time and produce. And you are right. So that's the challenge now is for me, I wouldn't take that a big challenge because uh, they will always complain about the lack of support, to have adequate resources and go and do documentary. Sometimes, go up material, go to different sites that they need. They complain about the lack of resources. So the no money syndrome people complain about could be another factor that is undermining most media institutions from, in their programming to focus on documentary. But another factor is about this fast way of doing things. For me, I tend that to be laziness. So we try to encourage them to seek that, documentary. And this thing, when you do that, you do proposal, program proposal, project proposal. I see the international community, our donors try to invest in the process. The last time we collaborated with the Liberia Media Center to, encourage journalists in the forest sector to report on deforestation and everything in the forest sector to do documentary through LMC. So we're trying to encourage them to do that.
A documentary is very key. For example, right? People talking about illicit mining in areas like the southeast. Now, that's an opportunity for a journalist, to go in that terrain, go with their camera, and be able to, record, edit, and give a documentary report that will capture what people are hearing, and it will bring the citizens to the point where they say, okay, yes, we've been hearing about this thing. It's no longer a rumor. This is a journalist there on the ground talking to these individuals. And I understand the challenges there too, to travel that far. So I think it's the media institutions that have to see the need for documentary reporting. Because if, for example, if a media institution say, look, you know what, we've been hearing about that gold thing, instead of somebody just doing a story here and there, let's do a documentary, let's send two persons or send a journalist there, I think it will be done. The media institutions need to make that investment so that they can bring that other component of reporting to the Liberian people. And you are spot on. But let's talk about investigative or journalism. And I'm not sure if a better job is being done in that respect, because there are a lot of things or stories that came up, and those stories just went there. Like, for example, the three missing boys. I mean, who is on this story now? So talk to me about investigative journalism. I mean, how is it in Liberia? I mean, is it that no appetite for it? What is the challenge there?
Sure, that's why we also have that in the award program, investigative journalism. But what I've noticed of late is that people are very reluctant to do follow up with stories, to do full investigation and come up with detailed information about a particular situation. Because like in Liberia, after 2 weeks, I mean, people don't do follow up with stories. So the challenge for investigative reporting is that some people, especially for stories to end corruption or whatever, people are afraid that they will be, haunted secretly, and then sometimes they have their own reason. But the UN sees investigative journalism as a perfect recipe for people to give full story of situation that is hidden. So we're encouraging people to do that. So that's it. People, we have few persons who are doing investigative journalism, but sometimes they begin the story and sometimes they say they are investigating. Once they are investigating, they can disclose themselves. They go sometimes like covert action. All of these training, we help training with them, train them how to investigate stories, how to move into a terrain, safety and the rest. Well, you are right. It's difficult. Most of the media practitioners are just doing political stories, focusing on political stories. So we're affecting that. A lot of things are happening in the country that people don't know they need to know. So another challenge could be maybe support. To investigate a particular story requires a long period and you need resources. That's why they complain about sometimes those who normally we know as investigative journalists, we need a lot of resources. That's why when you talk about institutions, it's important. Because once these institutions are venturing in some of these important aspects of the media work, the resources will come. But everybody is on political stories. And today, if a politician having a press conference, the another person having a development press conference, most of the journalists will go to the politician in the press conference. So political stories try to supersede other stories that are very important, to the growth of the nation, the survival of the nation. We talk about the documentary. There was incident landslide in Nimba County.
Right.
The journalists pick up the story. Social media have a sense of footage. Journalists started investigating. After 3 weeks, there is no latest information. No body that will uncover. Whether the people uncover all the bodies. What is the current situation now? You need a document, 30 minutes or even 45 minutes or an hour documentary.
Right.
Similar situation happened in Pitman. The superintendent, they were brought to town, said they were landslide, they said 30 persons. Later, the superintendent said it was one person and they confirmed one person. No journalist has gone in Kitman to even talk to the residents of the area.
Right.
To investigate fully whether it's true. I mean, it's true 30 persons died, what it caused, whether it's illicit mining, what has happened, who all supported illicit mining. And the people are using dredges all around our riverside, especially in Southeast. Every time Lands Mines goes there, they will say they brought the situation under control. But residents are complaining about pollution of their rivers, no safe drinking water, all of this. But the media is not fully involved in these kind of stories. Though people are reporting on the Uga community radio, they're reporting on at the level, Uga correspondents for some media in Monrovia, but they just gave summary of what happened, but to get full, detail of this story, because once the story is reported in depth, and the people seeing that on television or even having a tutorial, whatever, a detail, it will also have an effect for the government to act, and solve the problem. So you are right. The UN has been exerting frantic effort to encourage people to venture in investigative journalism, documentary, but the resources is matter because we can do the training and provide the training sometimes with the logistics at our level. We need a recorder, camera, especially those who win the awards. But it's left with the institutions to provide full support for these journalists, especially these new guys that are, that have the zeal the potential I want to go into that process. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Coffey.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And I think I would like to recommend to you that the media institutions, especially those ones that are doing well financially, to set aside at least one or two persons who will be trained for documentary unit. Now, if these people are on salary, for example, and all they have to do as their work is to do documentary, I think it will be done. Because if the institution is hiring somebody, say, look, we need somebody who will train to do documentary only, and the person is on salary, that person will be able to commit to it. But if the media institution does not have that as one of the positions at that institution, it will be difficult for an individual to venture into it because they don't know how they're going to get money if they make a documentary report. Who's going to pay them money? But if these media institutions say, for example, we need one person for documentary or two person for documentary, they'll be trained and they will be dispatched to just do documentary and they get their pay, I think they will be able to do that. So that would be my recommendation to you, that the PUS should suggest that to the media institutions that has some financial, standing to do so, because we need documentary. These flashy stories will not give us the true story of what's happening in the Southeast. And and the same can be said about investigative journalism that we talked about earlier. Folks in cyberspace, focus on Liberia. We are in conversation with Mr. Charles Coffey there on the phone. He is the president of the Press Union of Liberia. He joined us from all the way Liberia. He is our guest. And Mr. Coffey, before I bring you in, let me read some things here for you, and I want you to pay attention carefully. You wrote in one of your reports that I read on your website, attacks, detention, intimidation, suppression of the media and media workers, with several colleagues losing their lives to tyrannical and brutal security officers with impunity. You're talking about how the media is more or less subject to these intimidations, attacks, and detention and suppressions by security forces, and you went as far as cataloging most of these abuses. One, on January 2020, the late journalist Zenon K. Melo complained of being whipped by some officers of the Executive Protection Service while trying to leave the Samuel Kanyando Sport Complex. Two, journalist Christopher Walker, a reporter at Front Page Africa, was brutally flogged by some officers of the Liberian National Police at a semi-final game at the National County Sport Meet. Again, journalist Brian Duo was assaulted by officers of the Liberian National Police at a checkpoint in Riverside County while traveling to Harper, Maryland County. February 2020, journalist Kenan Kolo, manager of the Riverside Broadcasting System, was attacked by officers of the Liberian National Police and briefly detained in Yakpatan, Riverside County. You listed about 10 different cases where security forces have attacked journalists, have taken away some of their equipment, and just brutalized them. And according to your report, there has been zero account from all of these instances that you listed. But you said the media relation, is getting better in Liberia. But when you look at all the cases, I'm finding it difficult to believe. So talk to me about these cases and why, despite these cases, you are saying that there's a little bit of improvement. It must have been worse in the past.
Well, the 2020 incident, when we started earlier, that I told you about, because of the situation last year, we staged a petition, a protest, and petitioned the government, the president, to act. Mm-hmm. And then the committee was constituted, headed by former Information Minister Dr. Lawrence Proplet, to probe into the matter. So we acted, but as we speak, the committee concluded investigation but has not released findings. So indeed, you are right. When the incident occurred, we made representation. So I'm saying since the petition and then the investigation has commenced at the time, we've been working. There's no great incident prior, after the 2020 situation. That's why I said, it's better now as compared to the past. But indeed, it has happened, and you follow events. And we documented that at every level. For Zeno Milan, we raised the issue also after when he died. We called for autopsy. The government will agree to do that. But at the end, the family members said the report they got from ELA Hospital, they believe that their son died as a result of the illness, according to him, he had. And so they did not want any autopsy, and they didn't want the press to go further and engage in something because they say that he died as a result of sickness. So we raised all of the issues. That's what happened. And so he was buried. The rest of the journalists who were affected, we're still pursuing that. Last month, one of the journalists, Maggie TV, whose equipment was seized by the EPS, we recovered some of the materials, the equipment, the cameras, and other aspects, though we haven't received all. Another journalist too brought in complaint about being attacked at the time. So holistically, we've been handling that. And then that's why I said, because we can act in different ways. The one that requires our intervention through releases, documenting them, and calling for punitive measures against them, we have done that. And then we too, to prevent similar situations, we have discussion with them, workshops, training, security, and media relations. So that's the aspect I was referring to. But indeed, 2020 was a very, very much difficult year for us, the media. Immediately after the incident, we had a coronavirus, situation, and there was also another rift between Lika and the press union because of the form and manner in which they wanted to enforce the health measures against media practitioners. To raise the issues, we learned at the legislature. The Senate cited us, and Lika was told that indeed we're right. So that restriction, which created a compelling need for media people to stay away from the coverage, was addressed. So that's why I said for every time, different level, we act in a timely manner, depending on the situation. But as we speak, since last February, we presented a petition. We haven't experienced the kind of situation that happened in the past about 10 genders being affected.
Thank you. Again, folks, you are watching Focus on Liberia. This is our Friday special. We are having conversation with Mr. Charles B. Coffey, president of the Press Union of Liberia. Sorry, because of some technicality, we couldn't get him on video, but he's on the phone. I think you can hear him. I can hear him. So let's continue with the conversation. Mr. Coffey, let's come to the political side and let me specific a little bit about, election season. One thing that is important in any election is the issue of debate. I have my own disappointment with the Press Union of Liberia, and correct me here if I'm wrong. I don't see where you guys are organizing or debate for candidates in these elections. If you have done in the past, then it's on a limited scale that does not match the strength, or your standing as an institution. I'm blessed to be in the US here. I see all the debates, the media in charge. We don't see the media organizing debates. Many people want to see debates being organized, even if it is a certain mayor position. But the Press Union of Liberia, this is how you bring these politicians to the people. Talk to me about that. Why is that way?
Yeah. No, we've been having debates.
Okay.
2017, we held representatives debates and then presidential debates. We collaborated with other media development, partners.
Okay.
And then 2020, we had another debate, but this time our sponsors, the Internews, use it through Internews. And we have other people who also were part of the project. So we were controlling the southeastern part of the country. This gone senatorial elections. We have Senate in central central Liberia. They have John Colley with his group in another part of the country. So we held debates about at different level. southeastern counties. So they're having debates. But as you rightly said, we need to improve on that. We need to organize a debate that will present all the candidates, if not all, most of the candidates
Right.
at a particular location, having it live from different media platforms, to do that as we did 2017. Ambassador Weir was the only one at the time who did not attend, but we had all the other candidates, who attended that debate, the presidential candidates. So this last year we did debate also. We'll be doing debate for every time there's some by election or every major election we can hold debate, but not at the level we are talking about. So we need to improve on that in most cases.
But let me pick your mind a little bit. You think if you can reach some sort of deal with the National Election Commission, making it some kind of requirement for candidates, to participate in a debate, you think that's going to help in any way, or just by picking, the interests of the candidates to participate would do it? I mean, I'm just trying to find out how can
No,
you
it will be a very
go
it
ahead.
will be a very good thing because it
Hmm.
will be a very good thing because sometimes we collaborate with NEC, especially
Hmm.
training journalists how to report on elections matter,
Hmm.
and then NEC also compels candidates to publish their documents in some local dailies.
Right.
They are compelled to do that. So once it can happen with the actual debate, I think we can work with NEC, especially the lady that has a journalism background. We can collaborate with NEC that there should be the criteria that all candidates should attend, the UN debates. Because at that debate, uh, we have thematic areas. Normally, we'll organize debates. We'll be looking at employment. Sometimes we'll look at the environment. We look at human rights. Different thematic areas that the candidate will also make presentation.
Hmm.
Normally, they always promise to ensure freedom of expression, to ensure that the rights of Liberians are protected, that engage in infrastructure development, the issue of rape, depending on the thematic area. So the citizens sometimes attend these debates and ask questions. Those who are away, some of them write and do that. It's just that it's not being that much publicized certain points, But we always organize these debates, especially representative debates. We go in various districts. 2017, the entire country, we had the entire country. We use all the radio stations across the country, for those who participated in the debates to be heard and explain to the electors, what they would do when they are elected. So similar situation with John Collins Group, and then with Siemens, which is Macron Joseph also.
Right.
So we've been doing that. So NEC will help us in the process because sometimes we write the candidates at the end, they will agree, but in the when the process is on, you just see sometimes a major candidate will say, "Oh, I have other engagements." Some of them will say they prefer doing the campaign, reaching out to the electors, and so forth. But fortunately for us, many of the candidates who participated in the debate we organized were able to be elected because the radio, our radios were the radio stations were carrying the debates live, and they managed to convince some of the electors. Though not everybody who did not take part in the debate did not win, some of them won. But we think it's important that people who are vying for public positions to participate in this kind of debate so as to explain to the electors their capability, the kind of responsibility they need to do. Let people question that whether they know the job they want to do or they have an idea of when they get the what laws are they going to pass. You know, so it's important. Next, after the show, I'll call Mr. Plomo, who is the director of public affairs, and we can arrange a meeting with the chairperson and the board of commissioners so that we can work together because we've been working together every election period. Sometimes NEC we accredit generally through press union. We have in fact a code of ethics on elections reporting.
Thank you.
How to report on elections matter, the rights of the voter, the rights of political parties, citizens' rights and so forth.
Thank you again, folks. We got Mr. Charles B. Coffey, president of Press Union of Liberia, on the line, and we are having a conversation Mr. Coffey, let's talk about accessibility. And by that, I mean, how are public officials accessible to the media? What is the situation there? Are public officials making themselves available to media personnel if they want to, interview them or ask them about something? What is like? What is it? Tell me.
Yeah, most time I listen to public officials on different media platforms.
Mhm.
So that signals that there's a kind of level of accessibility
Okay.
to the media. And besides, the media institutions develop the beat system.
Mhm.
They assign their reporters at different agents, a strategic area like the Capitol building,
Mhm.
which is the legislature, the executive mansion, the judiciary.
Right.
You got judicial reporter, legislative reporter, executive mansion reporters, and those who are in the other area like environmental, different ministries and agencies. So indeed, there's some level, high level of accessibility, but there are some government officials who many journalists complain about that they are not accessible to the media. When they have a story and then they do follow up, they want to get a side, they will not give the journalist audience until when the story is published in the ready press, the president did not do due diligence, we want to respond. I mean, they're bringing complaints. So there are some of them who are actually not accessible. And reports will be reaching our office from some media workers. But on the general level, I think we have some high level of accessibility. The fact that every time many of them appear on different media platforms, radio, television, in the local dailies, having press conferences, people doing interview. I think it's better.
Will you say or not say that there has been some form of censorship from the government? I know somewhere I read that the media will not self-censor, that you will not subject yourself to self-censorship, and I think you came up with one of your media alert when the
Mm.
state of the not, not the stimulus SOE, the state of emergency was
Mm.
issued by the president.
Yeah, yeah.
The Ministry of Information was trying to use it to say, hey, any media who will engage into any kind of fake reporting will shut you down, something like that. I mean, has that been some attempt for you to self-censor or for the government to kind of censor you?
Well, the kind of comments sometimes become intimidation.
Right.
So we can speak out that we would not tolerate, the kind of comments that may have the propensity to force the media into self-censorship.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you issue a text, some media institutions that are not viable financially
Mm-hmm.
will be afraid because they will be dependent on adverts or advertisements from government agencies. So that normally will issue statement for also deter that. So the economic situation itself can make the media to be in self-censorship if they lack the resources, for example, for newspaper to come out every day so that I don't could do that. So that's what we're saying that we will not tolerate that. People will not use the economic condition of our country to threaten any journalist because the only thing you can do is not to do business with the media entity, but we have repealed all of some of the laws that would be the impediment to the operation of the media. Then we can challenge you through the due permit through the court in a competent court of jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what issue this matter for every time there's a comment, with as watchdog process, we can issue statement to detect who be, anyone threatening the media.
Well, Mr. Coffey, our time is fast spent. We will try to reach out to you again. There's a lot we have to talk about, concerning the media. The media plays a role in our democracy. The media also plays a role in the issue of human rights and all that. We want to be able to get to that. The media also has a role in keeping the peace on how it goes about reporting news and making sure that what they are reporting is factual. That also help to keep the peace in the country. We will certainly reach out to you to talk about these things. But our final question, which would be your parting statement, uh, media in the diaspora is growing a little bit, especially through talk show. There are many platforms, one of which is ours. Are you making efforts in broadening your tent to bring these institutions in your fold? You know, you acknowledged earlier that social media now is another huge platform in the area of information dissemination. Do you have plans in this area?
Sure. In fact, some of the media institutions have their online platform.
Mhm.
So we also gave a word to online television, online radio, online papers, and so forth.
Mhm.
So indeed, we are contemplating on that. In fact, the media abroad, especially the Liberian-oriented media institutions, we regard them as member of the year. Last time I attended the AJAC conference, I made a statement that we have to, domesticize our activities. So indeed, we're thinking that direction. The media is a reflection of our society.
Right.
It depicts what and how society works.
Mm-hmm.
So it requires people who are in the media business to have the sense of direction, the high level of professionalism, so that the media work they do will have the impact of our country. The essence of the media is to serve as a true watchdog to hold governments and other prominent, powerful people in society accountable to the public. So indeed, you are right. It requires that kind of professionalism. Truth is our bedrock. The media is truth telling. That's why we have a media council that ethics. Anybody who perform below our belt, who is engaged in acts of ethical transgression, they can be punished. Journalism is not about falsehood. It's not about blackmailing people. So we're checking all of this. And while we're advocating for the rights of the journalists to be protected as a safety guarantee, we are also cognizant of the fact that we have some bad apples in our midst, those who are engaging in bad journalism. So we're instituting punitive measures. People will now have beyond free speech. Free speech is not absolute. Fighting words are not free speech. Incitement are not free speech. Libel and other aspects, that inimical to the norms of society, they're not part of free speech. So for every time a complaint is brought here, we've made a determination. So indeed, you are right. Once Liberia is peaceful, there will be media people doing media work. During the crisis time, there are no proper organization of the media. Even the judicial system, the entire sector, economic, various sectors of our country were affected. So it's left with the media that to help build a peace while exposing ills in society for the good of our country.
Mr. Coffey, thank you. We wish you the best of luck in all you do for your country, Liberia, bringing information to your people and also providing leadership so that the media in Liberia can get better, and serve our community. We will reach out to you again and work out how you can come on video. Nowadays people want to see visual, right? When they see it, they believe it.
Yeah.
So I will work with you now that I have your contact. I will work with you in the back end to work out the modalities and get that technical thing out of the way so you can be on the screen for people to see you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
All right. Folks, that was Mr. Charles B. Coffey, President of the Press Union of Liberia. We just have a brief conversation for an hour. Sorry, we could not get him on video for you to see him for this conversation. The media is called the fourth estate. I'm not sure I know what that means, but my common sense tells me it is that fourth branch of the society that connects the society, the people, to the government, and the government to the people. Whichever way you look at it, the media plays a very crucial role. How we report and what we report can either harm or do so much good. Yes, the media must hold people accountable on the facts and the truth and nothing but the truth. My name is Anthony C. and I brought you this special edition of Focus on Liberia. There's a song here that says, "We are all Liberians." That song is taking us home. But before we do, let me share this with you quickly. Give me a moment. We will be having a show called The Literary Hour. The Literary Hour will come on this evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with Professor K. Mosenambe and Jackie Saya. They will be discussing about love from a different context, though. They will be talking about love because we are in the month of February. So they will be talking about love and love in all its complexities, using the writing of African authors. They will be reading poems and they'll be interpreting love, what it is, what it can do, the power it carries, and how it can be used positively. You do not want to miss it here. I Focus on Liberia. Coming up, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Love and its complexities. They will be reading poems written by Dr. K. Mosenamwe himself and another author. And I will not call that author name because I want you to come here. Thank you, folks. Our song is taking us home. And bye-bye.
We are Liberia.